Hello everyone and welcome to round 1 of the Budget Rally Tournament. I don't have anything else to say, so let's get into it. 32 competitors, but only one can win. 6 rounds, or 7, I don't really know, on 7 different circuits, each presenting a distinct challenge. So, for the first round, we're gonna be racing 3 laps around Lake Louise short track. But before we do, let's introduce ourselves to the contestants of this tournament. So, we have 454 HO Bowtie, the first member of the Classic Muscle Car Club, who is using the Chevy Chevelle with a pretty nice race car livery. Next, we have Alan Coder, who is using the C8 Corvette. Really looking forward to see how he does in his very first tournament. And same can be said for Android, another new contender. And he is using the WRX Group B road car. After him comes Apollo in the Wicked Fabrication GT51. His car of choice is unique, to say the least. Up next we have Jess Green, or Colony of Birchman, is what she decided to call herself. And she entered in a Ford F-150. After her there's Tail Special, or Drip KA, is what he decided to call himself. And he is using the Evo 6 Tommy Mäkinen edition, aka the thumbnail car of the entries video. And then there's Expert, aka the second member of the Classic Muscle Car Club, entering the tournament in the Mustang Boss 429. And following him is the third member of said club, I Hate God, and she is using the Dodge Super Bee. Up next we have Fancy Wreck, who is using a Frog livery Impreza 22B, a very beautiful rally legend. Meanwhile, Ferrari GT Sport is gonna make the 959 great again and show off its unnoticed potential. Gambling comes next in the Jeep Willys MB, a car which may be old, but we'll see how it performs on the track. Halo is back to redeem himself after what happened in the Yas tournament, and his car of choice is the Lancer Evo 10. On to the next contestant, we have Ika, who is using the Ferrari 308, which is a very interesting Italian pick. While Interrupting Octopus, however, has went for a British car, that being the TVR Tuscan Speed 6. Oh, I am definitely getting 500 horsepower PTSD. As for Jabulani, he definitely went for a much simpler pick, that is the Suzuki Jimny. Lovely little car. Then we have Julie Canoto, who is using the Nismo 400R, with a great livery that's reminiscing about the good old days. Up next we have Cassius, who entered the tournament in a Corvette C7 Group 3 road car. And Marzo continues his love towards RS cars by picking the Ford Sierra RS 500. And following him is the 4th member of the Classic Muscle Car Club, Mavis Morte. And her car of choice is the Pontiac GTO Judge. Then we have Pin, the one and only Mitsubishi driver that didn't go for a Lancer. Instead, his car of choice is the GTO. Meanwhile, RK80 went for a completely different approach with this by picking the KTM Crossbow R. Then there's also Mr. Tournament competitor himself, Rosie Miranto, who is using the Atenza Group 3 road car. After him there's Roxy Leylon, who is using the Toyota Supra, with a Weeb, I'm obviously joking, livery. After her we have Ryui SVT, who is using the Ford Focus RS, which, if I have to be honest, has one of, if not the best livery in the tournament. Next there's Smerts Kasoy, who is using the Lancia Delta Integral. It's a great rally legend, what can I say? After that there's me, and I am using a professionally tuned Zhutek Dodge Viper. Then we have the 5th and last member of the Classic Muscle Car Club, Tara Hawkizard, who is using the legendary Dodge Challenger with a General Lee livery. Definitely an American legend. and Thunderstorm Gaming entered in the Garage RCR Civic to try to redeem himself after being the first eliminated in Tuning Village, while V is in a yellow Evo V, which unfortunately has been repainted to a Zielonek color. After him there's Walta Malone Kit, who is using the Giga Chino. You know what, I'm not gonna question it. Moving on, we have Xolstis, who entered in the pace car itself, which is definitely an opponent to look out for. And last but not least, actually that's probably not true, is Zeep Sheep, who is using the Fiat 500. Anyways, with all the contestants introduced, let the tournament begin. So, for the first heat, we have Walta, Mavis, Pin, Apollo, V, me, Ferrari, and Julie Canotto. Anyways, let's see how this goes. And off they go, may the best one win. Right off the bat, you can see Pin and V alongside Ferrari overtaking Walta, allowing them to take the podium early, with me not far behind them in 4th. Meanwhile, Julie Canotto is in 7th as he is getting double cock-blocked by both Apollo and Walta, preventing him from overtaking either of them alongside Mavis. But that doesn't last very long, as the AI in this game is stupid, but not that stupid. Meanwhile, Mavis is in last place as she is struggling to overtake Walta, who at the moment is doing the one and only thing that'll prevent him from getting overtaken: cock blocking. Meanwhile, Apollo is now trying to catch back up to the others after losing a lot of time to Walta and Julie Canotto. And Julie Canotto himself is successfully managing to catch up to 4th place, which is being taken up by V, who I managed to successfully overtake. And I am now battling Pin for 2nd place. And Ferrari's first, as he managed to build a big gap over me and Pin. Currently in the bottom half is Mavis, Walta, Apollo, and Julie Canotto. So let's see if things change on the 2nd lap. And right away there's a massive change as Julie Canotto manages to overtake V, while Apollo is slowly but steadily catching up to the others. Oh, and also Mavis managed to overtake Walta, leaving him in 8th place as the Giga Chino's just not powerful enough to keep up, while Mavis is trying to keep up with Apollo but doesn't seem to be succeeding as of right now. Meanwhile in the front, V is trying to catch back up to Julie Canotto, who at the moment managed to pull a successful overtake on me, as I tried to block him but failed, allowing him to take the podium away from me. And now he tried to overtake Pin but failed, and so he holds off his need to overtake him till the next braking zone, which is where Pin's GTO does a minor slip-up, giving Julie Canotto a perfect opportunity to overtake it. And now Julie Canotto locks in on trying to catch up to Ferrari, who at this point almost completely zoomed off into the distance. And I still have a chance of taking 3rd place away from Pin. But will that actually end up happening? We'll see on the 3rd and final lap. And so right off the bat, I tried to catch back up to Pin, while V made absolutely no progress in trying to overtake me back. As for Apollo and Mavis, I can't even see them, that's how far behind they are. And so we go past this corner, and step by step you can see in the distance Julie Canotto is getting closer and closer to overtaking Ferrari, while I am still here trying to catch up to Pin, who's just not willing to give up 3rd place. And Pin himself couldn't have placed higher if he wanted to, at least with this lineup. Anyways, as you can see, Julie Canotto has managed to successfully catch up to Ferrari. And now all it takes is one minor slip-up for Ferrari to get overtaken. Now onto the braking zone, Julie Canotto tries to overtake but fails. Or so we thought, as he manages to trick Ferrari and overtake him on the inside. And now it's all down to the final straight. Julie Canotto smacks into the wall, causing him to lose a bit of time. Oh, it's so close. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? And it was super close, but Julie Canotto comes out on top, with Ferrari having to settle for second place, and Pin rounds out the podium, and me taking the last spot into round 2 for this race, which means the who finished 5th, Apollo in 6th, Mavis in 7th, and Walter in last place are not gonna be advancing yet. For the second heat, we have Jabulani, Interrupting Octopus, Thunderstorm Gaming, Fancy Wreck, Drip KA, Ryo SVT, Alan Coder, and Colony of Birchmen. 3, 2, 1, and started. And right off the bat, Fancy Wreck manages to overtake everyone to prevent Jess from zooming off so easily. And Drip KA joins them as he managed to overtake Jabulani pretty much instantly. Now into the first corner we go, and as you can see, Jess managed to overtake Fancy Wreck. But Fancy Wreck knows better than to give up easily and manages to overtake her back, while Drip KA is right behind in third. But not for long, as the others manage to break through Jabulani's cock blocking, as Alan Coder is taking up fourth while the others are trying to gain back the time they lost. And SVT tries to overtake Thunderstorm Gaming but can't because he keeps cock blocking him, while Interrupting Octopus is kinda struggling on the snow. And all of them are trying to catch back up to the podium, which isn't gonna be easy. And so they tried to catch up to Drip KA on this corner, which didn't really work from what I can tell. But let's see if something happens on the straight. Alan Coder is off to catch up to Drip KA on the straight. Meanwhile in the front, Fancy Wreck is managing to both hold off and compete against Jess, the same way he was able to compete with What Is Love and Mad Jester in Tuning Village. And so with that, the second lap begins. And being honest, anyone being able to hold off Jess was the last thing I expected to see in this race. Looking back at the podium, I see they didn't really succeed at catching up to Drip KA. But SVT did manage to successfully overtake both Alan Coder and Thunderstorm Gaming. But they're not gonna let that stop them from trying to get out of the danger zone. But anyways, now that SVT overtook them, he is now off to catch up to Drip KA, while Interrupting Octopus is struggling to keep up with the others, and Jabulani just got completely left in the dust. Anyways, let's take a look back on how everybody's doing when it comes to catching up to Drip KA. Thunderstorm Gaming, not too good. Alan Coder did manage to catch back up, but not enough to overtake him just yet, while SVT has managed to successfully catch up to him. And in the front, it looks like Jess managed to successfully overtake Fancy Wreck, but it was still quite surprising that he was able to compete with her, even if that didn't last very long. Anyways, looking back at the podium, and I see SVT managed to overtake Drip KA, who's now taking up 4th place, but let's see how things change on the 3rd and final lap. And so Alan Coder and Thunderstorm Gaming make it to the braking zone, which thanks to their decent top speed, they were actually able to catch up to Drip KA. And so they go through this corner, and Alan Coder tries to pull an overtake on Drip KA but fails, as he smacks into the Evo 6, causing him to lose a bit of time. And so the Corvette tries to overtake again and actually succeeded this time, taking 4th place and now trying to catch up to SVT regardless of if he succeeds or not, as SVT managed to build a big gap over them in the meantime. And Fancy Wreck's chilling in 2nd as there's nothing he can do to catch up to Jess. And so Alan Coder zooms off while Thunderstorm Gaming is still trying to overtake Drip KA. And no offense, but Octopus and Jabulani are pretty much f***ed. And now the question is, will Thunderstorm Gaming be able to overtake? But before we get the answer to that, Colony of Birchmen finishes 1st, while Fancy Wreck takes 2nd place, while SVT rounds out the podium in the not-so-heavy Ford Focus. And following him into the 2nd round is Alan Coder, who manages to place 4th. And even though Thunderstorm Gaming's overtake was successful, he unfortunately doesn't advance yet alongside Drip KA, Interrupting Octopus, and Jabulani. For the third heat, we have Zeep Sheep, Gambling, Expert, I Hate God, 454, HO Bowtie, Roxy Leyland, Rosie Miranto, and Smirts Kasoy. And so the race starts. Right off the bat, Roxy Leyland squeezes through the gap that doesn't exist and overtakes everyone, as Zeep Sheep gets overtaken by everyone in the first 5 seconds, which is not really surprising. Meanwhile, Gambling is busy cock-blocking 3 people at once, creating a train as a result and allowing Expert and Rosie Miranto to pull away a bit, while Roxy Leyland is chilling in first at the moment, as she turns out to be faster than half of her competition. And while Gambling is cock-blocking the other 3, Expert is using that opportunity to pull away a bit. A gap that he will definitely need given his Mustang is quite slow. Meanwhile, Rosie Miranto is busy trying to catch up to Roxy, which apparently doesn't seem to be so easy. Anyways, looking back at the cars that were cock-blocked, it looks like I Hate God managed to break out of it. And so did Bowtie, as he is not too far behind her. And after the entirety of the first lap, Smirts Kasoy finally manages to break out of Gambling's cock-blocking. And now that he finally did, he is off, as he manages to overtake Bowtie pretty much instantly, as I Hate God managed to catch up to Expert. Currently in the danger zone is Zeep Sheep, Gambling, Bowtie, and Smirts Kasoy. But this was only the first lap, so things still might take a turn. And so Smirts Kasoy goes for the overtake on I Hate God, and successfully manages to overtake her on the braking zone. Meanwhile in the front, I see Rosie Miranto manage to successfully catch up to Roxy. And now they're both having an intense battle for first place, which Roxy seems to be winning as of right now. And so Rosie Miranto tries to go for the overtake on this corner, and it doesn't seem to have worked, as Roxy Leyland manages to successfully hold him off for a bit longer. And so they go over the crest, as Spoonie put it, and so they both make it to the braking zone, aka another overtaking opportunity. And so they both brake, and Roxy seems to have slid a bit more than Rosie, opening up an overtaking opportunity, which he definitely takes. And so like that, Roxy has been overtaken, claiming the first place while Roxy falls down to second, while in the back, it looks like Smirts Kasoy managed to overtake Expert and take the third place for himself. While Expert now has to fight for his life against I Hate God and Bowtie in a battle for the last guaranteed spot into round 2. And we're about to see how that goes on the third and final lap, which is starting now. And so they reach the braking zone. Bowtie tries to get out of 6th place by trying to overtake I Hate God and actually succeeds, and now is off to try to catch up to Expert. But we'll take a look back on how this battle goes down later. For now, let's take a look at Smirts Kasoy, who managed to successfully catch up to Roxy Leyland, but not quite enough to overtake her though, as Roxy still has some high ground over him. And so on this corner, Roxy slides, causing her to lose a bit of time, while Rosie Miranto is just trying to zoom off into the distance in peace. Anyways, here comes Roxy Leyland, bouncing her way into the braking zone, where she gets assaulted by the god-awful understeer, causing her to almost get overtaken by the Lancia Delta. And now it all comes down to the start-finish straight. In the meantime, Rosie Miranto manages to cruise to the finish line and overtake Zeep Sheep, who is so slow that even the spectator had to overtake him. Anyways, just like that, Rosie Miranto places first, And even though it was close between them, Roxy manages to stay in second while Smertskasoy's third. But now let's check back on the classic muscle cars. And so Bowtie and I Hate God try to catch back up to Expert, but unfortunately for I Hate God, she got slowed down by a wall collision, while Bowtie managed to successfully gain back some of the time he lost. Meanwhile, I Hate God now has even more time to gain back. While she tries to do that, step by step, Bowtie gets closer and closer to overtaking Expert. And so they go past this slowdown corner and into the braking zone where Bowtie will have an opportunity to overtake, or catch up at least. And so he manages to do just that, as he used the fact that Expert understeered to his advantage to try to catch up to him. And now it all comes down to the final straight. And now I'll shut up and let this part of the race speak for itself. And as you can see, it was really close, but not enough, as Expert takes 4th place. Which means that Bowtie, I Hate God, Gambling, and Zeep Sheep are not advancing. Not yet, anyway. For the 4th heat, we have Cassius, Martso, Terra Hawkizard, Ika, Halo, Arcade League, Solstice, and Android. With that being said, let's begin the ascent. Oh yeah, Night Drive used this song a lot back in the day. Anyways, as soon as the race starts, Xolstis and Halo manage to overtake everyone to try to build up an early lead or something. And so on the braking zone, Cassius tries to overtake Xolstis and Terra tries to overtake Ika. And so Terra successfully manages to overtake, but the same cannot be said for Cassius, however. But Terra's overtake became completely useless as Ika manages to overtake him back on the next corner. And then also manages to overtake Cassius while he's at it. And so do Arcaadely and Android, who managed to overtake Terra after getting cock-blocked for a bit. And things are not looking good for Martso at the moment, as he is sitting in last place. But you know, maybe things will change as the race goes on. And I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but Arcaadely managed to overtake Cassius. Anyways, Martso drifts through the braking zone and now makes it onto the speed section. And so he manages to catch up to Terra's Charger. And then he overtakes it as the Charger smacks into the wall. But that doesn't change the fact that Martso's still in the danger zone. Meanwhile, Cassius is finishing the first lap in 6th place, as everybody who managed to overtake him just instantly zoomed off. And now that Arcaadely managed to overtake Ika, he is trying to prevent Android from overtaking him as well, which seems to be successful, but not for long, as Android manages to overtake Ika on this corner, taking 4th place away from Ika and now trying to catch up to Arcaadely as well. But will he actually be able to? We're about to find out, as we reach the section where the most action happens. Meanwhile, in the front, Halo and Xolstis are having their very intense battle for 1st place, which Halo seems to be winning as of right now, as he is not letting some pace car ruin his chance at redemption. And so they both make it past this corner, and so does Arcaadely, who now has to prepare for a fight against Android for the podium. And while he does that, Xolstis uses the slipstream from Halo's Evo 10 to try to catch up to him, which I don't think Rally in this game takes that into consideration. Anyways, we are now onto the 3rd and final lap. And so everyone makes it to the braking zone, where Xolstis tries to catch up to Halo and Android tries to catch up to Arcaadely, while Ika is in 5th place as he is struggling to keep up with Arcaadely or Android. And as much as Cassius tries to catch up to everybody else, he unfortunately can't. And same goes for Marzo, as he's just unable to take the spotlight this time. And so they make it into this corner, as they try to catch up to Ika while they still can. Anyways, now Archaeadly is having a battle against Android, who managed to successfully catch up to him. And so they make it over the crest into the slowdown section where the battle only intensifies. And while they both make it to the braking zone, the battle between Xolstis and Halo comes to a close, as Halo has managed to build up a decent gap over Xolstis. And Xolstis can still try to catch back up to Halo, but I highly doubt he will succeed in it. And just like that, after losing miserably in the Ass tournament, Halo gets his well-needed redemption, as he manages to gain a respectable first place, while Xolstis takes second, and Android managed to pull a last-minute overtake on Archaeadly. But that doesn't change the fact that Archaeadly still finishes 4th. And with that, Ika, Cassius, Marzo, and Terra all join the other 12 losers of this round. But still, well played to you all. And that's about it for round 1. Just like that, we already have 16 competitors for round 2. And we still need 8 more. But which one of those 8 contestants will it be? I guess we'll find out next time. Anyways, if you enjoyed, which I know you did, like the video. And maybe even consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the redemption round.